imagine our friend is helping us with pictures. So we are the ones putting the show together. Woo! Thank you. Thank you. So a lot of you have asked us, where did Nerd Night come from? And I'm happy to explain it over and over again, and now I get to tell everybody all at once. So, we started in Ann Arbor in January, but Nerd Night as a family is much older. This is Chris. Hi, Chris. Hi, Chris. Chris is one of the original nerds. He was getting his PhD in some kind of biology, studying some kind of animal, and he used to live and still lives in Boston. I know, boo? No, Boston's pretty cool, yeah. So as part of his PhD, he needed to go to Cameroon to explore. Yay, Cameroon. Right? Yeah, Cameroon's awesome. You should all go, take a trip. And he studied this indigo bird. Doesn't that bird look nice? Or at least pretty? Yeah. Apparently it's not. It's this crazy parasitic monster that eats things in really gross ways, and he didn't end up liking it all that much, so what a bummer. Especially if you're spending years and years researching it. Yeesh. So, he came back and talked to his lovely bartender over and over about his research story. And bartender was a patient man, but only had so much patience and he said, Chris, you know what? Get all your friends, put them in the center of the bar, tell the story once, and then never tell it again. He did that, he told it once, but then he told it again, so he was like halfway there. So, he realized, you know what? There are lots of people who have a 20-minute or 30-minute or 10-hour story to tell, and we can get them to shave their time down, and there are people who can tell their friends about really interesting, weird things, like mean birds or nanoparticles or whatever. So he talked to his friend Matt, this is our big boss out of Brooklyn, and he was hosting trivia and he liked it, but he realized he had something a little bit cooler on his hands. Hence, Nerd Night was born in Brooklyn. And now we're basically everywhere. So, Seattle, Portland, Munich, Dublin, Sydney, Wellington, Ann Arbor as of January, Detroit as of March. So Michigan is now on the map. I'm a competitive person, and we have 2 Nerd Nights. We didn't update the map, but California has 4. And I would like to beat them, so hopefully folks will start one in Lansing, Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids, so if you have friends, spread the word. What?
There's a lot more people in California, we probably have more per capita.
Yeah, exactly, and if we had more Nerd Nights, then, you know, we can just show them up even more. So, sorry, I'm a law school person, so I'm a bit of a gunner. But, yeah, so we're everywhere, so if you're traveling, check and see if there's a Nerd Night in the city that you're in. The bosses are all really cool, and it's never going to be the same event twice, as if Ann Arbor is an example. But before we start, we also want to thank our friends. It wouldn't be possible without them. Live, again, another round of applause because they've been fantastic. Please keep drinking and keep eating throughout the evening. If you think it's fun now, it's much more fun when you're that much more drunk. Yeah, we're called the Discovery Channel with beer for a reason, you know. Also, it's a bit of a color contrast. We've got some really nice neon lawn chairs here. That's thanks to a gift/loan from the Bank of Ann Arbor. So thank you, Bank of Ann Arbor. A lot of your chairs have ads for really cool programming. They're doing this thing called Sound Launch this summer with awesome concerts, so check it out. Ann Arbor's really awesome during the summer, especially because a lot of groups like Nerd Night are putting on some awesome programming, so give them some attendance and some love. Also, I don't know how to use anything technological, including microphones, so I would be useless without Alibi Crew. Please give them a shout out. They've been with us since the beginning. If I drop the microphone, that's on me, not on them. And then also, we sell merchandise. We have buttons at the front. We've got t-shirts here for 15 bucks, and Visibles.com gave us a really good deal on that, so thank you to them. Yes, more round of applause, I know. So, but most important, thank all of you for coming out tonight, so give yourselves a round of applause. You guys have been so awesome since January, coming up to us and giving us suggestions on presenters, helping us spread the word, and Nerd Night would not exist without all of you, so we are very, very, very grateful. We've got got 3 talks tonight, and they sound really awesome. First, we've got Greg. Greg is going to talk to us about a new kind of citizen science. Hi, Greg. Where are you, Greg? Greg's over there.
Greg.
Thank you, Greg. And then we have Erica, and she is going to talk to us about adventures in programming, lessons from a computer on how to be human. I didn't know it worked that way, so thank you, Erica. And then Brian is going to talk to us about scuba diving. How cool is that? So thank you, Brian. Also, shameless plug, we are always looking for presenters for future events, so if you want to be up on this stage, come find one of us and we'll talk about it. So, let's get the party started. Before I do that, we love social media and we love attention. So, please tweet a lot. Our handle is NerdNightE2. Our hashtag is NNA2, so tweet over and over and over. Also, we're doing something brand new in addition to the venue. Did everybody get 2 Cards Against Humanity cards?
Yes.
Awesome. If you didn't, go up to the door and we'll get you 2 white cards. After each presentation, we're going to play around. And then you're going to tweet your response. And then we're going to vote on the coolest 2. And the coolest 2 get drink tickets. So, Cards Against Humanity and drinking in a big crowd. This will be awesome. So, woo! And without any ado, everybody, please give a huge round of applause for Greg.
Okay. Let's see. Thanks for coming. My name's Greg. This presentation is going to come in 2 acts, a la This American Life. So Act 1 will be about A2 Geeks, what they do and what you can do with them. And Act 2 will be about citizen science and open science and how those may play into the future of your lives if you're a researcher. So A2 Geeks is a local 501c3 nonprofit. This is their technical goal, dedicated to making Ann Arbor a great place for creative and innovative people to live and work by opening the tech culture to everyone. Basically, it's a nonprofit for geeks, by geeks, to promote geek culture, and that's pretty much the point. Oops, that's the wrong way. Okay, so we do a lot of different things. One of the things that we do is we support Ann Arbor New Tech Meetup. Who has been to that before? All right, sweet. So basically, new tech companies every couple of months get together and give 5-minute presentations about why what they're doing is going to change the world, and you can go and listen to it. It's in Blau Auditorium. Happens every couple of months. So that's a neat event. Ignite Ann Arbor. Who's been to Ignite? All right. So Ignite is a presentation somewhat similar to this, except it's 20 seconds per slide, 20 slides. So it's a lot more formatted. That's a lot of fun. Also happens in Blau Auditorium. Geek Tour. Basically, wherever you would want to go with other nerdy type people, we will go on a geek tour with you. So we've gone to places like the brewery, we've gone to the radio station, we've gone to Recellular, which is a cell phone battery recycler, right? And why do you go with geeks? Because they're going to ask interesting questions that you care about. That's why it's fun. And then the email forum, which sounds really boring, but it's actually really active. There's always stuff posted on there, like people looking for jobs or people with jobs, people talking about local events like Nerd Night and other types of events, and then people looking for stuff or getting rid of stuff like DC parts and wall warts. If you need wall warts, the A2 Geeks group. Actually, the guy that posted that, I need some wall warts for a project. The next day he said, okay, thank you, I have enough wall warts now. Please don't send me any more emails about wall warts. So that gives you a sense of the type of community that's on the A2 Geeks listserv. We also organized the Ann Arbor Mini Maker Faire, which is coming up June 8th. Mark it on your calendars. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. This time we'll be at Washtenaw Community College, which is a lot closer. We were a little further from town before. It's a lot of fun. You should definitely come. Who knows what the Maker Faire is, or a Maker Faire is? All right, half the people, roughly. So basically, it's a place where regular people can go and show off the stuff that they make. So DIY type stuff. Anything that you do, if it's pottery and ceramics, or you made a robot, or you made your own CNC, or you 3D print stuff, come and show off the interesting stuff that you do at the Maker Faire. And the key is we're looking for exhibitors. And it's free. It's free to go. It's free to exhibit. So we're looking for exhibitors. Here's some terrible excuses that I will not accept. My project isn't quite done. you know your project is never done. That's the reality, right? Your project isn't cool enough and no one cares about the weird stuff you do. Look around you. These people are nerds and the people at this fair will be nerds. They care about your weird stuff. And I don't have enough time, you never have enough time, so come with it half done, it's fine, just sign up. You can sign up right here, you can go to the website, you can sign up as a maker right there, and if you absolutely can't make it, like your favorite aunt just died, I would understand. Then just come, don't exhibit, just come. So, we also have a Civic Acts competition, which I don't have any information about, but was just announced today. So, it ends July 4th, and we'll be opening up a lot of public data, like, for example, Ed Vialmetti is the guy who is organizing it. For example, every tree in Ann Arbor that's ever been planted is in a database, and its condition and its height and other information about it. So that's an example database along with transit routes and bus information, all kinds of stuff, and the goal is to make really interesting apps from publicly available data. So take part in that. And then we also do community support. We do fiscal sponsorship. So if you're a small group, for example, the person who's videotaping me right now, A2 Big, right?
Right.
Yes. They are in need of a fiscal sponsor because they have someone who wants to donate to them, but they're not a 501c3. So we can take them under our umbrella. The person can donate, get the tax write-off, and then we give them the check. As long as it's consistent with our mission, we can do that. So if you are part of a small group who needs that service, it may be something that we can do. And then we also do a lot of documentation. We have a lot of videos online of interesting projects that people work on in the community. And we're always open to new ideas. So if you have something that you think would be useful for the geek and tech community, collaborating, sharing, building more information about the community in Ann Arbor, let us know. We're always interested. And then we've got a webpage which is not that interesting, except that if you sign up, you can add to community news. You can also add to the wiki. If you're new in town and you want to know more about the tech scene, the wiki has a whole list of like every tech company, every organization that's related to technology and geek sort of stuff on there. It's very useful if you're new to town and you want to get into the scene. Okay, Act 2, a new kind of open science. So I am not an expert in this. And in fact, there is no one who is an expert in open science and citizen science because the way that it's happening now is both rapidly changing and relatively new. So this is really a discussion about what might happen, or what I would like to see happen in the next 10 or 15 years, not sort of just a one-way spouting at you. So first, this is the way things are done now. Who's in research or science in the audience? A lot of people, all right, so this will be familiar to you. You've got big science, right? That's like universities, research arms of large corporations, right? The big organizations that do science. And then you have big public, which is the government and all of the, DOE and all those guys. And then you have research, nonprofit organizations which do research. And basically, big public says, I have this problem. And big science says, I think I can solve it. Give me some money. And then they give them back the results, and big public says, like, this isn't a cure for cancer, it's a frog. No more money for you. Or, yes, you cured cancer, good work, here's some more money. And that's pretty much it, right? This is basically how the cycle works. It's like results and money, and it goes around and around. So, in theory, it's not a bad system, but this is what I don't like about the current system. The base building blocks of this system are the guy giving the money, which let's say for government, that's the taxpayer, right? It's like you're the guy, you pay taxes. And then the guy doing the work, or girl, right? Who's a researcher? You, that's you. You're doing the work, right? Okay, so between this guy, you, and this guy, you, it's all this people. And there's an administration, and there's history, and there's big donors, and there's politicians, and all this crap. It distorts a lot of what you wanted and what you intended. And so what I would like to see is something where we're not talking about such big sums, where we don't have such big bureaucracy, where we're talking instead of an inside language that everybody can understand. And I think that that's possible now. And it's cool, it's really exciting. So imagine that you, scientist, could say, I want to do this cool thing, and you, individual, could say, here's $5. Go do the cool thing, right? And 500 people did that, and all of a sudden you've got whatever 5 times 500 is, a decent amount of money, right? So now Instead of having all those people between this guy's preferences and this guy's preferences, it's just a direct connection. It really changes the game. And how can we do this, right? We can do things like Kickstarter. I'm just going to use a generic example. But on Kickstarter, I could create a project, right? I'm a scientist, I want to go study birds. Or let's say I want to take images, aerial photos of my town, right? I want to send up balloons and take aerial photos of my town and stitch them onto Google Maps. Let's say that's my project. And so I get 10 people to support me and I get to go do my project. Well, I can't talk in sort of inside language anymore. I have to talk in a way that's clearly understandable to the people that are funding me. And I'm going to be funded in small sums, right? $5, $10, $20 at a time. But it's not just about money anymore. All of a sudden I can be funded in effort, right? Maybe I got to get 100 people to go into their backyards and tie up the balloon, right? It takes them an hour, right? So someone can give me effort, or someone can give me support. They can like me on Facebook. So there's lots of ways for individuals to connect with scientists that isn't just money anymore. And what I love about this is instead of competing with, on the big scale you're competing with, well, the government can fund NASA or fund Social Security, right? That's kind of like a sucky comparison. That's hard and people talk a lot about it. And now it's like, well, I can give $10 to his balloon project or I can buy some Lord of the Rings pajamas. No big deal. Check. Or I could go clean the bathroom and then play Angry Birds, or I can spend an hour tying a balloon in my backyard to take some images of our community. It's like, okay, yeah, I think we can do that, right? It's much more achievable in terms of comparisons. So why is this possible? Well, we have all these new tools to get this done. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but basically there's now very easy ways to do online project management, to store all of your data, to share it with other people, to allow them to interact with you without a lot of overhead. There's all these cool tools and resources in space that you can access now relatively inexpensively, like Maker and Hackerspaces. Who's been to MakerWorks or All Hands Active here? Right, everyone in here should go. So go. It's amazing how little money you can spend to do so much stuff. And then, even better for scientists, there's these open science labs. Who's heard of BioCurious? Wow, just one person. All right, BioCurious is like a makerspace for science. It's all kinds of lab tools that's openly available. You sign up, you pay a fixed fee per month, 50 or 100 bucks, and you can come in and use their PCR machine. It is a lab that anyone can go and do their stuff. So don't tell me that the only way to be a scientist is to go to a university with $1 million worth of stuff. It's just not true anymore. There's other ways to do it. And then, how do you get funding? Well, now there's project-based funding, crowdfunding from places like Kickstarter, Indiegogo, and Rocket Hub. Who knows what those things are? Most people, right. But there's other ways to do it, like there's patron-based funding. So now it's kind of like the NPR model, right? Who's my scientist? You're my scientist? I'm going to be like, I'm going to give you $5 a month, scientist, because I think you're smart and you're working on Alzheimer's and I might get Alzheimer's someday, right? So I give you $5 a month. There you go, patron-based funding, so you don't have to have a project every time. That's interesting. Or there's a local project called Snowdrift, which is patron-based funding, basically, with an open source bent. You have to be an open source project. You can't have, patent or copyright on the stuff that you're producing. So all of a sudden now you have funding options as an individual. Okay, so here's some examples of these types of projects, either citizen science projects, open science projects. This is one of the oldest ones, the Audubon Society Christmas Bird Count. Who's done it or taken part in it? Yes, that guy, no, he's smart. So the Christmas Bird Count, why has this been so? It's been happening for over 100 years, actually, since 1900. Why? Because it asks you to do this. Take a walk with your family on Christmas Day and listen to birds. Check. Everyone's in. Who wouldn't do that, right? It's fun. So the first thing about these projects, you have to want to do them. That one's very easy, right? So this is one that's a little newer and takes advantage of technology, our ability to share and collect data. It's called Planet Hunters. It's part of Galaxy Zoo. You should go check it out. Basically, this takes data from the Kepler telescope, and it measures how much variation there is in the light from a given star, right? And these dips means there was less light from that star, and if those dips happen in a cyclic way, it means there might be a planet there, right, getting in front of the star. So your job as a citizen scientist is to identify these dips, and then you magically found a planet. Cool, clever. What I don't like about it is it turns people into sort of machines, right? It's using the sort of most base level of what we're capable of doing as human beings, and it's a very one-directional research project. They're sort of telling us what to do, and we go and click on things. But it's a good example. Foldit. Who's heard of Foldit? Yeah, Foldit. Got a lot of press. It's cool. So, proteins are very complex. It's very easy to know what's in them, how many carbons and how many hydrogens. Very hard to know how those things are organized. So, for example, Foldit basically turns that folding problem for proteins into a game. So people work on figuring out how to fold the proteins in the optimal way, and then they can solve these really complex problems. For example, there was an algorithm that was working on folding a protein related to AIDS, I think, for 10 years. 10 years. The Foldit community of gamers solved it in 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So amazing. This is a cool one because the science itself so closely mimics a game that it's a no-brainer to translate. But it's a good example. This is the project that I'm actually working on at MSU. It's called Photosync. So we're developing a little Arduino-based handheld device, like this big, that measures photosynthesis, plant photosynthesis. Measures a lot of sort of physiological data about plants, very specific information about plants when you take the data. And then the data goes to your cell phone, it automatically goes to an online database where anyone can access that information. And then we can mine that data, we can map the data across the world, and then we can mine that data for trends. For example, we may be able to answer the following interesting question. What's the most photosynthetically efficient plant on the planet? We have no idea. We have no idea. We've taken a lot of measurements in the lab, but it's on a very small number of plants. So, that's the project that we're working on. These guys, if you've never checked them out, you should go. I have like a total man crush on those guys right there. They're doing super, super cool stuff. Publiclab.org. They have 2 really cool projects. One's called Spectral Workbench. And they have this, they send you this kit, it's $40. It's a open source DIY spectrometer. So the diffraction grating is an old CD, it's a broken part of a CD. And then this is actually a electrical conduit box. And you can make your own spec data. So you upload your spec data here on the website, you can see everybody else's spec data, and the goal of this is to identify contaminants in wastewater or groundwater sources all across the country. And again, it can be mapped. They're doing another project called Public Aerial Mapping. These guys actually started after Katrina because there was very little data locally on the coastline of where, it was after the Gulf oil spill, of where the oil was. And so what they did is they made this cool kit where they could send up cameras and take pictures and stitch the pictures together all along the coast, and they could identify where the oil was. So they've taken this sort of to the next step, and now anyone can get it. And if you go to Google Maps, you can actually find their layer on Google Maps. People are sending up balloons and stitching together stuff all over the place, and you find all these little stitch layers on Google Maps. Another really cool project. Okay, so what does this mean for scientists? I think this fundamentally changes who scientists can be and have to be successful in this system. One, social skills matter. Now you're directly connected to the guy that's funding you. You can't sit in the closet and be like, I just want to be a scientist. Don't look at me, don't ask what I'm doing. It's like, no, you can't do that anymore. It's not going to work. We can ask questions previously unaskable. If I wanted to collect data from 50 states before, I would have to go to 50 states or get 50 grad students and send them there. Well, now all of a sudden I just need 50 people from 50 different states, right, to send me some data. Maybe I send them a piece of equipment and they send me some data. Done. Right? It's amazing. This is the biggest one for me. I'm sort of don't like IP. We can build our own scientific capital on our own terms. So scientists, you go to university, right? You want to become a professor. So you become a professor. What does that mean when you're successful? It means you get more money, right? You get more grants, and you get more grad students. That's pretty much what it means. You get time, you get money. When you leave that university, do those things come with you? Nope. Are they yours? Nope. They're not. It's not yours. In this, you can build your own. It's yours. If you built 1,000 followers who are doing work with you collaboratively, they're yours. Right? The money that you make and the time and skill that you develop, it's yours. So it really empowers the building blocks of that system I was talking about before. Intellectual property becomes basically unnecessary because the importance of sharing in the new system Intellectual property inhibits sharing. Sharing is too important to be inhibited in the new system. So intellectual property becomes somewhat irrelevant. And overall, it's a completely different way of doing things. So, different ecosystem. Pursuit. Uh-oh. Have to unlock the phone. Open. There we go. Okay, so how does it get more awesome? In the future, this is what I think. The best projects are those which are engaging, and there's lots of ways to be engaging. You can be engaging with Angry Birds, right, because you're addicted to it, and it's like crack. That's one way to be engaging. And another way is, you see an interesting slug on the ground, you're like, oh, look at this weird thing, you're interested. That's scientific interest. If we can get more on the scientific interest end of things when we develop these projects, that's where we should be if we can. Skill building, right? Instead of, I'm doing citizen science by clicking on something like 100 times in a row, well, maybe you are adding useful data, but you're not building a skill yourself. So if we can create projects which build skill in the process, that's better. If we can create projects which also build knowledge, think of the open spec, right? You're building a skill because you're asking people to build a spec, that's a skill. And then you're building knowledge because you're asking them to understand how the heck that spec worked. That's cool. And then community building, so getting people to talk to each other and then to create internal information from the community. That's unique. I think Foldit does a good job at that. It has a whole gamer community online, people talking to each other all the time about what's going on. And then I think this is the hardest one, and this is the next one that you'll really see. Right now, citizen science is mostly, I'm a professor and I want to get 100 people to do work for me so I can solve my big problem. That's cool, but it's pretty much one way, right? I'm telling you what to do. In the future, we're gonna have citizen science projects where maybe it starts that way. Hey, 100 people, let's do this thing. And then after they do it, guy number 98's like, hey, I got an idea. Why don't we research this other thing? And then everyone's like, yeah, that's a good idea, let's go do that. And then after that, somebody else pops up and they say, hey, I found this interesting information. So then it becomes a two-way conversation, totally different. It engages people in science in a totally different way. So I hope to see that. Damn this thing. Okay, remember, this is where we're at right now. Citizen and open science, we're like this. We just got up, we were just born, we don't know what we're doing. Our neck actually doesn't reach the ground to the water, it's frustrating. So recognize this, that I don't know what I'm talking about, and that I'm trying to start a conversation when this gets done to say, what is possible? How can we do this thing? Some people are doing it. They may not be doing it the right way, or maybe they are, we don't know. But get out there and try it. And remember, we're competing against this thing, which is traditional science. It's been around for 100 years. It's like an Arabian stallion. It knows exactly what it's doing. So we will eventually get there. But we're going to need some people at the beginning to test out some different models and try some different things. So this is how I want to finish. Because sometimes it's hard to understand these things unless you have a story. So we're going to make a story. If you can read this. So, okay, so we're going to make an example. So you are, how old are you? 30, it's perfect. 30, not something as well. So you're 30 years old and you're passionate about researching
logic.
Something.
Spatial flows of real estate capital.
Spatial flows of real estate capital. And you want to answer the following question to get started on your career of discovery and problem solving relating to spatial flows of real estate capital. You're the one who, you gotta go. It's you. Oh God.
Where's the money at?
Yeah, okay, right. Wait, where does all the money end up? There's flows, it's gotta go somewhere. So you go to some space locally where there's smart people who can help you out. What space would that be?
Library.
Sure, you go to the library. And you meet what groups? There's so many groups in Ann Arbor that could help you with this question. Give me a group. Yeah, you go to A2 Geeks where there's lots of smart people and you network and you gain some skills. And P.S. you have a part-time job at... Starbucks! Yes, Stella's. Yeah, and because in reality this doesn't cover your bills yet because we're at the beginning stages. But you have a part-time job at Stella's. You work on an initial prototype, you get some data, you justify the concept, and you post all your data online to Reddit. Great! Reddit. It'd be hard to track, but okay. Eventually you're ready to give your experiment a shot, so you run a campaign on...
Kickstarter.
Okay, yeah, there you go. To raise... $1 million, yes! $1 million. And during that time you gain... $5. No, followers. How many followers? 5. All right, 5. Wow, 5 followers. $200,000 each. Who take some part? It's real estate flows. This totally makes sense. They take some part in your research. You perform the experiments, and your results are negative. Yes, totally right. That's perfectly realistic. So after lots of hard work and
Fear.
fear. All right, fearful dedication. We'll do it that way. You are finally finished. Nice work. And now you've got some supporters, a little money, some experience under your belt, and a new kind of scientific career, one that's controlled by you. Thank you, everyone.
So I don't have to have one.
Hey everybody! So it's time to get another drink, of course, before the next talk. But first, we're going to do 2 of these black Cards Against Humanity cards. Tweet to NerdNite82, whichever of your cards you think might win, and the winners get a drink. Okay, so the first one, blank, kid tested, mother approved. Got it? I hear laughs, so it must be good. Okay. And the second, what did I bring back from Mexico? What did I bring back from Mexico? And we'll announce the winners after the intermission.
You're asking the wrong.
Kid tested, mother approved. If you played that card, take it back to registration and they'll give you a drink ticket. The other one, what did I bring back from Mexico? Roofies, obviously. So if you played that card, take it back to registration, we'll give you a drink ticket. We also have a mailing list somewhere. It might be a registration, but if you want to be on it, you can get updates about Nite Ann Arbor. We just need your name and your email address. So without further ado, it is time to listen to some adventures in programming from Erica Carlson. Hi everybody. So my name's Erica and I'm a software engineer. Oh, I think I just broke it. I totally planned that. Okay, so I'm a developer at Pillar Technology, which is about a mile that way. I don't know. I've been working here for 6 months and I still get lost every time I try to come downtown. So, and I accidentally became a software developer in 2011, which is a story for a different day. But the other thing that I do, besides writing code, is I run an organization called Girl Develop It, the Detroit chapter of an organization called Girl Develop It, which I co-founded in 2012. And the mission of Girl Develop It is to teach women how to develop software, which obviously was pretty relevant to me because that was a thing that I had just learned how to do. So, if you're a developer or a software engineer, please raise your hand. Okay, so when I get done talking, like everybody, do it again, raise your hands. Look around, everyone who's not raising your hand. When I get done talking, and if you want to ask any questions about big O notation or threading or anything that sounds like that, go find one of those people. Because in all honesty, they know a lot more than I do, and a lot of them have actually taught me a lot of what I know. So before I came to programming, I was a psychology major. Funny story about that. And so what I really feel like I know is people. So I really love what I do with Girl Develop It because I get to work with people. And I get to take this thing that I do all day, every day, writing code, and turn it into a thing that people can love and can do even if it's not necessarily what they do all day, every day. But usually when I say, I teach classes to people who don't know anything about writing code, I teach them how to build websites,
People look at me and they go, why? Why would you spend your time learning something as random and esoteric and weird as software engineering? I should have called my talk this. But I told my husband that, and he was like, they're gonna think you're gonna teach them how to make Skynet and you're not that cool. So, you know. So why? Here's my question. Why would you learn to develop software if you were not ever gonna do it professionally? Although incidentally, not having the intention to do it professionally won't necessarily stop you. I learned that the hard way. It was like, oh hey, I'm gonna write a line of code. Hello world. Oh wait, they're paying me. Being a psych major, and actually I read this quote before I ever wrote a line of code in my life. Sherry Turkle is a cognitive psychologist who has written a lot about the interaction of people and technology. And she says, technology catalyzes changes not only in what we do, but in how we think. And this has been my experience. And it's been the experience of my students, who in Girl Develop It are ages 15 to 67. And who in schools, where I also teach introductory programming, are ages 7 to 12. It teaches them things like communication. I hear that's a good thing. But in all seriousness, computers are incredibly powerful, but they're also really dumb. Like, they understand 2 words. They understand 0 and 1. Come on, right? So the thing about learning to program is that if your program doesn't do what you want it to do, you either ask the wrong question or you ask the question wrong. That's it. Like, do something different, do something better. Programming teaches you to break things down to their simplest components. It teaches you how to express your thoughts in a straightforward manner. It teaches you how to think clearly and logically. And those are skills that you can use no matter what you do. So that's the first thing. The second thing that my students learn, that I get to watch them learn, is mindfulness. If you've ever spent 30 minutes looking for a missing semicolon in 10 lines of code, you know what I'm talking about. So, yeah, programming is one of those things where a letter or an equal sign makes a huge difference. Like, you're writing code and everything's great, and your program's doing all the right things, and everything's working, your tests are passing, and then all of a sudden, you have code that says, anytime 2 equals 2, blow up, go to hell, and shut down everything. Not that that's happened to anyone I know. So yes, programming teaches you to pay attention. Learning. I overheard this great conversation at a tech conference where one person said to another, of course I'm wrong. I'm always wrong. But I'll be less wrong tomorrow. And the cool thing is that this is true whether you've been programming for 5 minutes or 15 years. I've been doing this for now about 2 years, and I learn 10 new things every day easy. But I sit next to people who have been doing it for 10 years or more, and they learn things every day too. Which I think is really cool. And if you don't think it's cool just for the sake of being cool, there's all this research that says that every time you learn new things, your brain like actually gets better and you're less likely to get Alzheimer's. So, you know. I made these slides at 2 in the morning. But in all seriousness, there's this thing that happens when you start learning how to write code, where somebody who knows what they're doing is talking to you and they're like, blah, 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 conditional, blah, 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 threading, blah, 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 this, and you're smiling and nodding, and behind your screen you're Googling as fast as you possibly can. Like somebody should give me a PhD in Google. But after a while you learn that there's no replacement for turning to the person next to you or yelling to the person across the room and saying, I have no idea what the hell is going on. You got a clue? Help me out. And usually they do. And if they don't, they'll come over and sit next to you and be clueless with you. So you learn how to ask questions and not be scared to do that. And you learn how to ask good questions. Again, that whole communication, putting your thoughts on paper or in words thing. I hear it's good. Learning how to program teaches you not to be scared. Like, ever. Because no matter how long you've been doing it, no matter how much you know, you come into a new project and there's always that moment of, oh God, I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. I'm having one of those, like I had one 5 minutes ago when I came up here. But you have them a lot, no matter how much you know. And you learn to get comfortable with that. You learn that when you get scared, you don't freeze. You take a step back, and you pick one tiny thing that you do know, and you go with that. It teaches you to think outside the box. Writing code is actually not really that much about the code. Code is a tool. It's a tool that lets you solve problems, and the longer you do it, and the more that you do it, the more you learn to solve problems in different ways, in cool ways. You learn not necessarily what decisions to make, but how to make them. I really love this quote because every cool thing that has ever been invented in the history of mankind started with somebody just screwing around. Yeah, I'm gonna go with it. No, but seriously, every cool thing that ever happened has started with somebody going, I wonder what would happen if I. And programming inherently, writing code, creating things, using code, allows you to play. Allows you to say, what if I did this? What if I tried that? Nobody's gonna die. You know, the world's not gonna explode probably. So you can try stuff. And it's really cool. I know, right? My math skills, like, awesome. Yeah! Thanks for that.
It was great. It was great.
You wouldn't think this because this isn't the stereotype, but programming is really naturally collaborative. My favorite thing when I go into schools and I teach this stuff to kids is watching how they naturally pair off and they go into groups and they say, I screwed this up, how did you do that? Oh, well, I did this, but you did this thing, so how did you do that? And they have conversations and they get stuff right that they wouldn't have gotten by themselves. And they get really excited and they high five, or in the case of the school I was in last week, they get up and they do a booty dance and go, I'm smart, I'm smart. I do that sometimes too. But it goes right on up the scale. I was a psych major. I worked with people. I worked with divorcing people, which was way less fun than writing code. But I thought I could never possibly communicate more than I have in the field of psychology. I was totally wrong. I have conversations all day, every day. And they're idea conversations. They're, what if we did this? What if we did that? Where I work, we program together a lot. We pair. Because we think that two brains are better than one. You know that friendly little button that you can just hit and you shut down everything? And when you call tech support, it's the first thing they tell you to do. They're like, well, did you restart? Sometimes they're right. Programming teaches you the value of starting over. It teaches you not to hang on to things that aren't any good. It lets you throw stuff out and try something new. I used the word joy in my abstract, and I thought, oh man, like that's a high standard. I have to live up to that now. But it's a good one. Because programming is fun. Making things is fun. It's incredibly satisfying when you have a problem and you're like, I have no idea. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But you do that thing where you pick it apart. You start with the littlest thing. And then all of a sudden you have this really cool thing that you made all by yourself. How awesome is that, right? So if you're me, you do a little booty dance and, you know, you're a little bit happier. when you learn to write code, even if it's just a little bit, my classes are 8 hours long. Like, you don't come out of there being able to make the next Facebook. Sorry. But you do come out of there being able to do a little thing. You come out of there being able to have an idea and turn it into something real. And that's kind of magical. It feels that way. It feels really cool. Just like that, you get to bring an idea to life. You get to go from being a consumer of technology to being a maker, which is awesome. Somebody told me this once when I was first learning, a whole, not quite even 2 years ago. I said, I'm 25, I'm too old to learn this stuff. There's no way I'll never be any good at it. Nobody will ever pay me to do this. And they said, there's no speed limit. There's no reason that says, oh, you can only spend 2 hours a day learning this stuff, or oh, it will take you 4 years, or oh, it will take you 2 years. And so I learned. And now they pay me to do this. Still not sure why. But I have a student who said the same thing to me 6 months ago. And I said, just remember there's no speed limit. There's no limit to what you can learn. You can do whatever you want to. There's nobody saying you can't. And that student just got paid to build her first website for a client. So the only thing stopping you is the time to sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna learn this thing. Oh, I did that thing where the phone shuts off. I'm just gonna throw this out there. So my job title has the word engineer in it. And when I got my MacBook, I spent 20 minutes trying to open it from the wrong side. If I can do this, you can do this. So in all seriousness, I talk to our students a lot at Girl Develop It. I talk to kids a lot in schools. And the word that I hear the most often is this. After they've learned to build a website, to write a tiny little bit of code, to do one little thing, to make something. And you would think, who's inspired by this? By what basically comes down to a string of zeros and ones. This is why. When you learn to code, or you learn to build anything, you learn to make anything, you learn to go inside a system and see how it works. All of a sudden you have everything you need. To build something bigger than yourself is to build something as big as you want to. All of a sudden, I could never do that, turns into, well, I just did this, so maybe I could do that. It's not a mystery. And it feels like magic sometimes, but it's not actually that either. Computers aren't a black box. Programming isn't a black box. The world isn't a black box. So, go see what's inside. So that's me. If I haven't put you to sleep in the past 20 minutes, you might want to follow me on Twitter. If I have, probably you don't want to. So I've been told I have to ask this. But remember what I said at the beginning. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, good. You're gonna go find one of those people. Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Okay, bear with me. I have to find a couple cards. There we go. Okay. So for our next Cards Against Humanity round. First one is Daddy, why is Mommy crying? The second is in LA County Jail, word is you can trade 200 cigarettes for blank. Winners after the intermission. Again, just tweet them to NerdNightA2. surprise sex. Whoever played that can take their card up to registration and get a drink. The second, in LA County Jail, word is you can trade 200 cigarettes for trying to conceal a boner. So whoever played that can take it up to registration and get a drink. Otherwise, put your hands together. It's time to hear about some scuba diving with Brian Bondi.
How's everybody doing? All right, so first things first, I know one way that I learned a long time ago in a whole nother life when I worked in automotive, to get people to pay attention, you give away free stuff. So if you want to put your name on the list, I don't need your real name. I want a code name or a superhero name or a nickname, whatever you want. But it's got to be something that you'll remember. Then we're going to pick a number at the end for a grand prize. But I also have 3 other prizes for people that want to pay attention. And if I ask some questions and you answer them right, you're going to get free stuff. So, if you want to, go ahead. Free stuff. Free stuff. Who doesn't like free stuff? Exactly. Oh, you don't? All right, you're off the list. Okay, so let's take a look. I'm definitely not an expert in any of this stuff. Some of the people that spoke earlier, I was like impressed. So hopefully you guys have some fun with what I've got to say, and we'll go from there. So who was that masked man anyway? Well, that's me. I'm Brian Bondi. I'm the owner at Huron Scuba, Snorkeling Adventure Travel, and we are on Jackson Road. Okay, we are not he who must remain nameless, or he who shall not be named. There's another dive store in Ann Arbor, I heard, it's on the other side of town. So that's not me. You can come to mine, I'm on Jackson. I am a master scuba diver trainer, that's my rank, if you wanted to call it a rank, and it's from Patty. A lot of people know about scuba diving. Who here has tried scuba diving? I know you guys have. Up there, good, okay. So maybe we'll get some more interest tonight. Take a look at that. But Patty is the biggest organization globally for scuba diving, so that's why it's important. You know, you'll hear about it a lot of the times, depending upon where you go. So I've been in it since 2004. So we talked about this already. There will definitely be a quiz at the end, so you can either take notes, cheat off the other person. Doesn't matter, whoever gets the right answer. I don't care where you got it. And again, the piece of paper that's going around, you can use your pet name if you really want to, Snookums, whatever you like. All right, there you go. All right, so one of the questions that I get a lot is, who really scuba dives? Crazy people? Some that might think it's a great idea to jump out of an airplane? Yeah? Adrenaline junkies? See, you can't tell, but this is me right now. Right there. Or my doppelganger is my beautiful wife, right over there. She thought I was in this car. So she's following that car around and taking pictures. And, I was in that car. Or maybe doppelgangers. People that fly by the seat of their pants. This was probably the most scared I've ever been in my entire life, because the guy says, don't worry about it. The guy in the bottom's going to, make sure you don't break your neck. So it looks like I'm really having fun in that, but there's a guy that's like right here, making sure that I don't die. Or highly skilled adventure couples. Beautiful wife, right? Little whitewater rafting. Okay, you can't really tell. That's me. Not my wife. Okay, so she already fell out. So you don't really have to be highly skilled adventure kind of thing. But I do give her credit for 2 things. Fell out of the whitewater raft. Never lost her sunglasses. Didn't lose her gum. All right. You got to be a risk taker to go scuba diving? I don't know, crazy enough to propose to somebody as a surprise on live television? Or 20 minutes later marry him on live television? They're really private and introverted kind of people. Is that who you think has to scuba dive? Because that's what you get a lot of the time. People think, I really have to be adventuresome, or it's something I really have to try. What about a 10-year-old kid this past weekend that I certified 46-degree water?
Your conversation's on.
Okay, he did it. How about a triple amputee? This is Ann. I'll never forget this opportunity that I got to work with Ann. Then I've got Eddie in the next slide. Ann had never really been in the water since she had the amputations, and she was just looking for something else to do. Okay, so you can see below the elbow, and you can't see from behind, but she's got above the knee on one leg. So one fin, she can scuba dive. Do you think you can? And then there's Eddie. Eddie was awesome. I went in the water with him. He's a double amputee, you can tell, so he can't use fins. I could barely keep up with him, and I have the biggest fins that you can buy in the whole world. So he was excited. So I guess a better question to answer is who can't scuba dive? You don't need to be an adrenaline junkie. You don't need to be super adventurous. You just want to try and have some fun. So that's who can scuba dive, just about everybody. So what are the joys that I get out of scuba diving? The reason I bought the dive store is because I absolutely love scuba gear. So it kind of made sense for me to own the dive store, to get deals on that kind of stuff. Who has an MP3 player or device that'll play MP3s? Almost everybody, okay. Who has an MP3 player that's waterproof to 300 feet? All right, I have two. Who needs two? That's the kind of, the stuff that I like, is all the gear. So anything to do with dive gear, anything to do with dive trips. We'll talk a little bit about some of the destinations that I've had an opportunity to go to. Everything to do with bringing new people into the sport is really a big passion of mine. I want more people to see what the underwater world has to offer because it's awesome. Everything to do with showing someone who didn't know that scuba was an option. As an example, Ian and Eddie, it's a great opportunity for them. There's people that work overseas for the armed forces and they come back and they don't even know that the option's available because they were able-bodied when they left, and it's not the same when they come back and they don't know what is available for them. So that's another great option. Every minute of every dive, every minute of every class, and every minute of every dive trip I've ever taken, that's a joy for me. And one of the things that I try to do is LLTTF, which is live life to the fullest. And scuba diving gives me a great opportunity to do that and also bring it to other people. Some of the misconceptions for scuba diving is people think it's too difficult for them to do, or it's a really long, convoluted process, and I don't have that kind of time to get certified. Time consuming. They think that they have to be able to beat Michael Phelps in the pool, not ripping bongs, just in the pool. Sorry, I'm not from Ann Arbor. I apologize if you guys got a little.
You're good, you can do both.
All right. Some people think it's really dangerous. So there's only a few scuba divers here. Does anybody know what the most important rule in scuba diving is?
Don't die.
Don't die, that's a good one. I'll call it second most important. You try not to die by.
Keep breathing.
Keep breathing, never hold your breath. Okay, I want you to remember that because we're going to come back to it in a minute. All right? And another thing for scuba diving misconception is sharks live there. Are you crazy? So we'll get to that too. So, difficult to do or certify. Again, I showed you Mose this weekend. He's 10 years and 5 months old, and that's the limit's 10 years old to get certified now. It's a performance-based program, so as long as you can do the stuff that we tell you, there's no time limit. If you don't get it the first time, we remediate, show you a couple tricks, get you to do the next skill. If you can do that, then we carry on. We're never trying to trick you. It's really black and white. So, in college they want you to, take this and take that and tell me what your idea is on how you should make that. Well, in this program I say, this is the answer. It's in the book, write it down. And then on the quiz and on the final, that's all you have to do. So it's really that easy. It's very black and white. What I can tell you is the bookwork's not the fun part. The fun part is when you actually start in the water, whether it's in the pool or when you get to the certification portion. So I always tell everybody the same thing. Just get through the classroom part because we have to do it. That's the part where we learn not to die. And then I take you in the pool and show you the fun stuff. So remember, if it's not fun, you're doing it wrong. And I always talk to my students about that. If it hurts, if it's not fun, it means you're doing something wrong. It's a nice, slow, easy process. There's nothing that should hurt, and there's definitely no part of it that shouldn't be fun. And that's the other part of it. The only reason that people come scuba diving is because they want to. And that's why it's a pleasure for me to teach, because you're not taking it because you're forced to get your degree, or it's an elective that your parents said, you know what, I want you to take Spanish, or whatever it is. They're signed up because they want to. Too time consuming to certify. You can actually get certified in as little as 2 weekends. I need a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then a Saturday and half a Sunday, and you can be finished. There's a knowledge development portion which you can do in a classroom, or you can do it online. There's a lot of people here. Based on how many research people there were, I'm assuming there's a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me, and the online stuff might be great for them. The confined water portion is where we go in the pool. I teach you 23 of the 24 skills that you need to learn. And then you go to open water and you show me the 23 that you're supposed to know. I teach you one more and then you're done. So, you take as long as you need and you're never in a rush. And that's the other part of it. It's not something where you gotta get it done, you gotta get it done. And again, we get back to, if it's not fun, we're doing it wrong. So, Michael Phelps. Do not need to be an Olympic class swimmer and to be able to be a good scuba diver. All that I really need to make sure is that you're not afraid of the water. You don't even have to be a good swimmer. You don't even have to be a swimmer. I've had people that signed up and said, I can't swim. I said, as long as you're not afraid of the water, that's okay. So I'm going to put a lot of equipment on you. It's going to help you float. I'm going to put big fins on your feet that's going to help you propel yourself. So you don't have to be a good swimmer. What you do need to be able to do is a 200 to 300 yard swim and a 10-minute drown proofing. Actually, this is a rough draft. I tried to take the word drown out and forgot. So it's treading water for 10 minutes. And again, we come back to, if it's not fun, you're definitely still doing it wrong. Dangerous. So, everybody understands the way that the insurance industry works. It's based on how many people do we actually have to write a check to. Do the math divided by how many people are paying the money, and that's where we come up with your rates, supposedly. They say it's not for profit. So, the dive accident insurance rates are incredibly low because they very, very, very seldom have to write a check. So that's one way to kind of gauge how dangerous is it. There's a lot more technology involved in scuba diving now. As an example, this isn't a watch, this is actually a full dive computer. So this does all kinds of things. And that helps people that are not so comfortable with remembering all the things from training. We always stay in what's called no decompression limits. There's all kinds of different kinds of diving that you can do. Decompression diving is where you're going to stay underwater for a really long time, or you see in the movies where that guy's going to get the bends. Well, that's what we avoid, and it's easy to avoid if you follow the rules and you stay well within your limits. And it's very easy to stay well within your limits and still get really long dive times and have a great time. As an example, for most people on vacation, you'll be absolutely within the dive limits and you'll get about an hour underwater per dive, and that's really good for most people on vacation. So, we talked about it. Most important rule, never, never hold your breath. Remember that. So, some misconceptions about sharks. So, I'm going to give you a comparison, and we're going to see, what do you guys think out of this whole list might be the biggest deal? All right, so let's take a look. Texting while driving, 6,000 annual US only. Hippos, Africa, 2,900. All right. Autoerotic asphyxiation, 600 people annually. All right, remember, scuba diving teaches you things that apply to real world. Never, never hold your breath, and you will not be one of the 600. Falling out of bed kills 450 people. Icicles, 100. Ants, 30. Vending machines, 13. Sharks, big line. Guesses? 5. Oh, 5. Nicely done. 5 fatalities per year average. You know, it was actually 5.1, so I don't know what the 0.1 guy was. Kinda dead. So, some of the destinations that we can go. Everyone hears about the Caribbean or they know about it. A lot of the stuff that we'll do from North America to the United States is in the Caribbean because it's easy to get to. It's usually cost effective, and there's a lot of great places that you can go. I'm Canadian, so Cuba's still on the map. I didn't erase that. I know you guys can't go there. Out of all of this area, there's really only 2 or 3 places where there's not great diving. So a lot of people don't know that. I've been to quite a few different places and had opportunities. Aruba, Bonaire, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic. Turks and Caicos is probably one of my favorite locations. Bahamas, and all through the outer islands as well. And there's all kinds of opportunities to try those out. One of the places that people always ask, where was your favorite dive destination? Well, one of the nicest places that I had an opportunity to go and where I actually started my own dive career was in Tahiti, in Bora Bora. So if you look and you see the overwater bungalows, and inside here there's a coffee table in the middle of your room with a glass top. You can actually open the glass top and you can feed the fish right from your room. So that's what you have to offer for scuba diving. Fiji is where I went with my beautiful almost wife until, well, you'll get to that in a little bit, I guess, in the next few slides. We went to Fiji, and this was by far the nicest land base where they didn't have any of the overwater bungalows at a property called Paradise Taveuni. And that was another great opportunity for diving, but relaxation as well. What they had there, if anyone's interested, is what I call the all-you-can-eat buffet for spa treatments. So you pay X number of dollars. It was very fair. It was a couple $100. And as many spa treatments as you could sign up for 3 days was included. So people were waking up to get a facial, going diving, getting a massage, taking a nap, going diving, getting a pedi, and it was pretty awesome there too. Darwin and Wolf are probably the 2 coolest islands that I've ever been to. And you can see here all the hammerheads. There's hundreds of hammerhead sharks. So again, other than the one Okay, he didn't get me. There's no problems diving with sharks, and that's one of the biggest misnomers for scuba diving. People always think, what's going to happen? Well, when I was in this is Darwin's Arch. If people don't know, you see it on the Discovery Channel and all these other things. It's out in the middle of nowhere, off the coast of Ecuador. But the diving there is untouched. There's a lot of ocean currents that cross there, so a lot of animals come, and it's unbelievable. So it's another fantastic opportunity for diving. And just like, there's people that watch television shows and they say, wow, that's amazing. You know, I think the Earth series had something on the Galapagos Islands. And all I can say is, you can go there. It's not just on television. I've been there and it's unbelievable, and it's not that hard to get there. What about around here? What have we got around here? I know Dan likes this kind of stuff. We got shipwrecks. That's the reason that we go diving in the Great Lakes. Fantastic shipwrecks. And there's an unbelievable number of them, and they're all, I shouldn't say all, there's a significant number of them that are diveable. They're at reachable depths. They're not crazy. Like Lake Superior is really too deep for a lot of diving. Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, very diveable. How many shipwrecks do you guys think there's in the Great Lakes? 100? 500, okay? 1,000? 3,000. All right, so exact number of shipwrecks is unknown because they can't really keep track. But the Great Lakes Shipwreck Museum says there's about 6,000. And in doing my research, there's this guy named Mark Thompson. It must be true because I found it on Wikipedia. He says that the estimated number is more likely 25,000. So we'll go between and we'll say, there's 10 or 12,000 shipwrecks in the Great Lakes. So, believe it or not, if you've been boating in the Great Lakes, the chances are you've gone over a shipwreck and you didn't even know it. Where else can you go diving? Georgia Aquarium. Just did that a couple weekends ago. This was my backup plan to propose to my wife, but I ended up working something else out. You guys saw that I got married on television. But this is another fantastic opportunity. Some people don't agree with the aquariums because they're penning animals up and things like that. And I can understand that. It's similar to a zoo. But what I can tell you is I'm very interested in everything that has to do with the underwater world. And they treat all of the animals better than they treat their employees there. And they treat their employees very well. So it's a fantastic opportunity for research, and the gentleman that presented first talked about sharing information, and that's what they do globally with anyone that wants to know. So another question that's easier to ask is, where can't I scuba dive? So back to the misconceptions, not the autoerotic one. Looking at the number 5. I've personally dove with thousands of sharks, including I've done shark feedings in both Fiji and the Bahamas. I have the videos for those if you guys are interested. I can tell you where to find them on YouTube. And I'm still here. You get an opportunity to get up close and personal. They're very intelligent animals, but they know that you're not supposed to be there. So there's really nothing for you to be afraid of. They'll get up close and want to know where you're planning on going and things like that. But they know that you're just a visitor because your equipment makes a lot of noise. You're not full of fat. Well, I'm kind of fat, but they're looking for really fat things. Like they want the most bang for the buck to put the energy in to actually attacking. So if there is ever anything like that, it's usually mistaken identity. You'll see that a lot with surfers because on the surface, for a shark, it looks like what they're looking for. It looks like a seal. They just see the outline and they attack from the bottom up. Or it's a defensive action for any animal that's underwater. If you get too close to its territory, it's going to let you know. So that's when you can run into things. There's a comedian, Robert Schimmel, and I always remember, he says, what's a shark thinking? We're swimming along, and, it comes upon this guy. This guy, what are you supposed to do? You punch it in the nose. He says, okay, well, what happens if that doesn't work? He says, well, then you poke him in the eye with your nub. Sorry, man. All right. See if this will go. Nope, missed it. So this is just a little bit of footage that I shot in Fiji. That's just a little bit grainy because I'm not a Mac person and we're making it work the other way. So you can see how up close and personal I'm getting. He's actually going to bump into my camera. That is a white-tip reef shark. The one-armed fisherman I caught, it was this big. So here's something for a comparison. That shark right there is going to have a tooth that's about that big. Everybody see that?
How many teeth?
More than one. All right, so that's about the size. For that, and so that shark, to answer the question, that shark, you know, everything looks bigger underwater by about 10%. That shark was between 5 and 6 feet long, so he's pretty big. But then we get into the big mama, a megalodon shark. Does anybody know what that is? If you watch Shark Week, they might have talked about it. If you ever go to a museum and they have this huge jaw, a fiberglass jaw, you can actually stand inside it, and it's a dinosaur shark, that's a megalodon. So the oldest thing in the bar, this is a megalodon shark's tooth. This is one tooth. Anyone want to take a guess? Not you two? How old is this tooth? Okay, could be, so it's 5 million. This tooth is at least 2 million years old, and it could be up to 20 million years old, and that's when these sharks actually were on the earth. So I go on, once a year I go look for these teeth and recover them. The group that I dove with last year recovered 4,300 of them. Only 23 of them were this big. So this is pretty cool. Again, gave it to my girlfriend, now wife. See guys? Girls like stuff. Hard to find. And again, don't let her fool you. Size does matter. So this is actually a chart. It's going to show you a scuba diver, a modern day great white shark, and this is the size of a megalodon shark. A little big.
So as a beginning scuba diver, you can actually find those teeth.
Not as a beginning scuba diver, but it doesn't take much more training. You'll probably be about the second level. So this is my take for last year. And again, that's just a picture of that one right when I took it out of the ocean. And the way that you know that you found them is it's in the same layer, because I actually have to dig in the bottom of the ocean. It's in the same layer as whale bones. So I've got a whole pail full of those too. There's some really interesting species of sharks from that time that I've got teeth from, and there's actually professors from the University of Michigan that they can't believe, and I've got a whole store full of them. It's just fun for me. So if anyone knows anyone that's interested in this kind of stuff, send them over. So that just gives you an idea about scuba diving. Some of the misconceptions. I hope that I answered a lot of the questions, because I saw some heads nodding, didn't know it was that easy. As long as I can rip a bong better than Michael Phelps, I think people got that out of here, that they can become a scuba diver. So other than that, any questions from anybody?
How deep can you go?
How deep can you go? Great question. Entry-level certification will take you down to 60 feet. The next level will take you down to 100 feet. And then the recreational limit's 130 feet. That's for recreational diving. So at the beginning we talked about staying within your decompression limits or your no decompression limits. 130 feet is as deep as we're going to want you to go. There's additional training, which we call technical diving, where there's really no depth limit, but it's really going to be equipment based. So you're going to run up decompression commitments, and in order to stay on the bottom, as an example, if you wanted to go to 300 feet for 6 minutes, it's going to take you 4 hours to get out of the water, because you have to stage your ascent. Good question. Anybody else?
Does depth even matter?
Depth does matter, because your nitrogen load is it's a function of depth versus time. So you can stay at a reasonably shallow depth. If you stay there long enough, you'll still run into decompression commitments. But usually for recreational scuba diving, you can't stay that long because you'll run out of air before you hit that limit. Good question.
What's the depth of the shipwrecks like you were talking about that you could go around in the Great Lakes?
Great question. The depth for a lot of the stuff in the Great Lakes that we're looking for, I want you to have the second level of certification, because most of the wrecks are between 90 and 100 feet, and understanding that that's to the deck, because some of these ships are gigantic. There's one that's my favorite called the Eber Ward, and the top deck's around 100 feet, and the bottom of the last hold's at 135, so it's right at the limit. Go ahead.
I've heard, may not be true, that on some of the Great Lakes shipwrecks, due to the nature of the fresh water, you can actually see skeletons of some of the crew. Is that true?
That is true. Now, it's not going to be at the more diveable depths, it'll be at the deeper ones, and it's based on temperature, really is what it is, because the organisms that eat people, organisms that eat wood, they don't survive at that temperature, is what it is. But there's absolutely still skeletons and different things from some of these shipwrecks. And again, it's usually the ones that are much deeper, and those are treated very, very particularly. You're there to look and absolutely not touch. Do I find other cool stuff? In the ships, great question. Do you find other cool stuff in the ships? You can find all kinds of stuff, but you're not allowed to take it. Because if I find it and keep it, then when Dan goes, it's not there. So we really don't want you to take things, and we teach people you're there to look but not touch. But there's all kinds of stuff that you can find. You know, everyone that goes shipwreck diving has a picture of them sitting on a toilet, you know, at 100 feet. Everyone has that. But you got to be careful because your tank will break the toilet. But there's all kinds of things that you can find. Great question. Yep. Oh. Good question. Because of the international, because I'm 25 miles off the coast, and like it's not really protected. The reason that shipwrecks are protected is for historical reasons, not for value. You know, if there's a value to a ship, then there's what's called salvage rights, and then people will actually apply to the people whose ship it was and say, I know where it is, and I'm going to give you this much money, and then they work out the agreement and they get the rights to salvage it if it's valuable. Everything else is historical value, so it's actually countries that protect it. It's not the people that own the shipwreck. Like there's an empty wooden freighter, nobody cares. But the historical value is really important. Good question. Yep. Uncomfortably cold. It depends on the person. The answer is you can be, but there's another video that I have. Some of the people that I dive with that went diving in Antarctica, and it's manageable. So there's different technology. A lot of people are probably familiar with what's called a wetsuit. Well, there's another technology. It's called a dry suit. In a dry suit, you don't get wet, and you actually wear like thermal underwear. Or if you're in Antarctica, a lot of thermal underwear. And you can manage the temperatures quite well. Like I said, you know, that kid was in 46-degree water in a wetsuit. Well, we all know that after 32, it's not water anymore, so we can't go diving in it. So it's not that big of a difference. It's manageable, but it really depends on the person as well and what you need to wear. Questions? Go ahead. Great question. What does it cost? The cost for the class, if you want to go all the way through, is about $500. You need to bring your own mask and snorkeling boots. If you don't have that, then we can help you with that. And that's going to cost you another $400 or $500, depending upon. Yep. I'm sorry, once more? Every week? No. What we do in the busy season, which we're just coming up into, is every other weekend. So we'll have class and pool one weekend, certification dives the next weekend, class and pool. And we'll do that probably every other weekend for probably the next 2-3 months. All right. So, after I've done all this talking, I forgot to hand the list around to give you guys code names. So, it's going to be Maverick. That's it? It's right here. Oh, is it up? Awesome. Well, someone took care of that. I don't remember handing that up. Oh, no one stole my pen. That's my favorite pen. Awesome. Okay. So that's going to be for the grand prize. Who wants to take a shot at answering a couple questions to get one of the not grand prizes, but still pretty cool? Anybody? Come on up. Okay, so first question is, where's my store?
It's on Jackson Road.
You rock. All right, here you go. So I got a shirt for you, but I also have, oh, it's on the clipboard. Don't tell them, because then they're going to steal your thing. There you go.
Ooh.
So you can try scuba diving.
Oh, sweet.
Thank you. All right, anyone else want to give it a try? Come on up. So, next question. It's an easy one. You ready? What's the most important rule in scuba diving?
Don't hold your breath.
You got it. Don't hold your breath. Okay. There you go. You don't want to do one of the 600, so don't hold your breath. Yep. No, got this for you too. There you go. Okay. One more. Anybody? Can't see? That's okay. There we go. All right. What are two of the destinations that I talked about tonight?
Fiji and Bora Bora.
That'll work. That's two. No, that's two. There you go. Got that? No, got this for you too. Well, come on in if you want to give it a try. Okay. So this tooth here, because of the size, is worth over $1,000. So one tooth, $1,000. Grand prize for the people that decided they wanted to use their... Oh, this is a different list. I'm over here. Okay. I need you, because you said that you didn't want to try scuba diving. Pick a number between 1 and 19. 16 it is. Suka. All right. And the grand prize, she gets her own dinosaur shark's tooth from a megalodon. There you go. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, where the hell is Nemo?
Where's Nemo? Trying to find him. I appreciate your time, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it.
Here we go. I've seen enough. Time to go home. What's there?
We have a couch.
Scuba slides here. Now you get to see the behind the scenes nerds. This is how we enter slides into our presentations. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for coming out. Save the date. We're going to have our next Nerd Night here again, June 20th. And so save that day. We're going to talk about Superman, medical imaging, and we're looking for new presenters always, so submit your ideas. Besides that, Amber, one of our co-bosses, has been leading the charge on a new mobile app for Nerd Night. So get ready, because there's going to be lots of fun with the mobile app. So like it says, it's coming soon and it will change your life forever. Dun dun dun. So besides Nerd Night Ann Arbor, we also have Nerd Night Detroit, which is going to be coming to you on May 30th in Midtown Detroit. That one's a little bit earlier. It starts at 6:30, doors at 6 o'clock. But they've got tons of awesome presenters. The theme of this one is going to be Nerd Night Detroit, Detroit Nerd City. There's going to be some rock and roll. There's going to be some shit on symphony. It's going to be awesome. So come and freestyle and hang out with the nerds in Detroit next on the 30th. Also, we have a guest in the audience who's going to talk a little bit about, there's the Mini Maker Fair coming up, on June 8th. And we have a guest in the audience who's going to talk a little bit about the A2 Hack for Change. So I'm going to hand the microphone over. Where is he? I know you're out there. Nice. I like your backpack.
Agio. It's amazing. Take 3. All right, yeah, this is my 3rd time tonight, so you guys don't get slides because I didn't get them in early. Sorry. Yeah, but the Pillar folks have seen this, and anybody who was at A2 Geeks have seen this. So my name is Hans Cox. I am spearheading the A2 Hack for Change. More microphone. Sorry, I project. I am doing the A2 Hack for Change, which is a hackathon, June 1st and 2nd at Pillar, the Forge over Tech Brewery area. More information on that on our website, a2hackforchange.org. The idea behind this event is we are taking data sets and smushing them into really useful things for our community. Stuff. Yeah. We want to solve local problems with already available data. So it's going to be structured in such a way that people can submit their requests for a problem to be solved. They can say, I am person XYZ, I have this problem with the community, I think it can be solved with the data that we have available. Will you please help me solve this? And we've got a ton of stuff already submitted from people like Intel, who have submitted a slew of challenges in this manner. We've got a ton of data from Ann Arbor, We've got a ton of data from the feds and more stuff every day. A ton of volunteers already. This is going to be an amazing event. So I highly urge you all to go check out the website, get all the information, a2hackforchange.org, and we'll see you at the event.
I love that the description was, there's lots of information from Ann Arbor and the feds. Sounds interesting. Awesome, well thanks so much. So besides that, we have another huge announcement besides the amazing mobile app and all the amazing Maker Faire hackathons that are happening in Ann Arbor. And that is, drumroll, first ever annual Global Nerd Night Festival. It's in Brooklyn, New York, which, you know, Delta, Hub, LaGuardia, Detroit, make it happen. And it's 3 days of awesome global nerdery, and it's $100, but again, it's 3 days of all you can drink Brooklyn beer. If you've ever had Brooklyn beer, it's delicious. And the guys from Radio Lab are gonna be there talking, and a bunch of other awesome nerds. So it's gonna be like a crazy global festival of people flying in from all over the world to just love nerdery. If you have any ideas, again, definitely holler at us, nerdnight82@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter, submit your ideas, and definitely hope to see you again next month. Thank you so much for coming. Peace out, Ann Arbor.